Hey there, welcome back to The Magic and the Music. I'm Jen. Today, I'm going to be teaching you about what I consider to be one of the most confusing aspects of Disney Vacation Club, Use Year. What in the world is Use Year and how does it work? Whether you are considering becoming a member or you're already a member and you just still don't totally get Use Year, we have got you covered, so stick around. So what is Use Year for Disney Vacation Club? Well, Disney Vacation Club contracts are assigned to specific months of the year when the points replenish or turn over to the new year worth of points. These are spread throughout the year in 8 different months. DVC Use Years can be February, March, April, June, August, September, October, or December. You can see your points available for each use year on the DVC website on the dashboard. When you book a DVC reservation, the points are pulled from the points allocation for the use year that your travel dates fall into. Let's look at an example. In this example, we have a February use year, which runs from February 1st through January 31st of the following year. Let's use the 2022 use year as an example. The 2022 points for a February use year would be used for travel dates between February 1st, 2022 through January 31st, 2023. The same principle would apply to all other use years. The 2022 points for the March use year would be for stays March 1st, 2022 through February 28th or 29th if it's leap year, 2023, and so on. This is actually pretty straightforward if your use year falls in the earlier part of the calendar year. The place where this becomes a bit confusing is if you have a use year that falls later in the calendar year. We have an October use year on all of our DVC contracts, so our allocation of points for each year falls very late in the calendar year, and this can require some careful calculations on our part. For example, our October 2022 points would not be in use until October of 2022. So stays for most of the 2022 calendar would actually fall into our 2021 use year. In my opinion, the December use year is actually the most confusing because 11 months of the year are out of alignment with the calendar year. Let's talk for a moment about booking. How does use year impact when I can book my reservation? Well, surprisingly, it doesn't. This can be really confusing for a lot of new members. You can book a reservation 11 months before your check-in date at your home resort and 7 months from your check-in date for all other resorts. This is completely independent of use year. When you reach your booking window, simply book the stay and the points will be taken from the use year in which your travel dates fall. Can I choose my use year? Yes and no. If you purchase a contract directly from Disney Vacation Club, you can choose your use year and the total number of points. If you purchase a resale contract, you must select a resale contract that matches your desired use year. Can I change my use year? No. That's why if you purchase a resale contract, be sure to buy one that is your desired use year because it will never change. Once you purchase a contract, either direct or resale, the use year and points total is fixed for the life of the contract. What is a banking window? If you don't use all of your points in a year or are saving for a bigger trip in the future, you have the option of banking your points into the next use year. For example, I had 8 extra 2020 Riviera points that I had not used, so I banked them into the 2021 use year. This essentially pushes them forward by 1 use year. Banked points must be used by the end of the use year into which they were banked, or they will expire. They cannot be banked a second time. Each use year has its own banking deadline. Each banking deadline is basically 4 months before the end of the use year. You don't want to miss this deadline or any unused points will expire. Banking is irreversible and can be done on the DVC website. I recommend setting an annual alarm on your phone a week or two before your banking deadline so you never forget to bank any unused points. You do not want to forget to bank points. It could be a very costly mistake. Borrowing points. It's also possible to borrow points from a future use year in order to make a reservation. This is only done while making a reservation. For example, if I wanted to book a December 2022 trip and I didn't have enough points, I could borrow from my 2023 use year. This is a permanent transaction, and those points cannot be banked back into their original use year. If the reservation for which points were borrowed is canceled, the points will remain and will not be returned to the original use year, so be absolutely sure you want to borrow before doing it. Generally speaking, I think it's better to borrow points than to bank because banking essentially backs you into a corner and you risk having unused points that are going to expire. Even so, some people use this strategy all the time and they don't have any problems with it. It's just not my preferred approach. Even though borrowing is an irrevocable transaction, if you find that you aren't going to use the borrowed points, it may be possible, depending upon your reservation and point usage, to bank other unused points into the next use year to replace the points that you borrowed. That's why I find borrowing to be a more flexible transaction than banking in general. Should my contracts be on the same use year? Most people prefer to have their contracts on the same use year, but some people enjoy having different use years. We have all of ours on the same use year, which makes it easy to keep track of everything. It also means that we have just one login, one dashboard, and our points are all shown in the same account. If you have different use years and you want to combine contracts for booking a reservation, you would need to transfer the points from one membership account to the other. This wouldn't be a big deal, except that you only get one transfer per year. This is extremely limiting, and I personally wouldn't want to deal with that. We often combine contracts for reservations, so we love the flexibility to do it all in one account. One of the reasons people usually mention for having different use years is that they get 2 wait lists per use year. If you have contracts on the same use year like we do, you only get 2 wait lists total. So which use year should I get? This is a personal decision. The most important thing you need to know is that you cannot combine points for reservations that span across multiple use years. For example, if you wanted to travel from March 30th through April 3rd and you had an April use year, that would be a problem because part of your reservation would fall in a different use year. You would have to book 2 separate reservations using points in each use year. This is something that member services could assist you with, but honestly, it's a situation that I would really try to avoid. This is especially important if you plan to do trips that straddle use years often. You wouldn't want to do this frequently. It's a headache, so choose a use year that is not close to any of your desired travel dates. We often travel in the summer and January with occasional trips in April. We like having a use year that is far removed from all of those travel dates. I just asked myself, when would we never ever travel? And as a teacher, the answer for me is in the fall. I never foresee us taking a trip that crosses October 1st. Therefore, October is a great use year choice for us. If you're concerned about having your use year line up with the actual calendar, which can make it easier to get organized, or if talking about DVC Use Year just makes your head hurt, you may want an earlier use year, like February, for example. That would mean that you use most of your points for each use year in that same calendar year. 2022 points would be mostly used in 2022. You can also see that if you chose a very late use year like December, the majority of your points would actually be used in the following calendar year. So your 2022 points would primarily be used in 2023. One other important consideration for use year before your eyes glaze over is if you have to cancel a reservation within 30 days of the check-in date, the points go into a holding account. They cannot be banked and can only be used to book a reservation, no more than 60 days out. But if you're approaching the end of the use year, you could actually lose them even sooner if your use year ended. This situation will not apply to most members, but it is something to keep in mind. In my opinion, the other use year considerations are much more important unless you are somebody who cancels reservations a lot. If you have additional questions or comments, please ask in the comments below. We want to help you understand this because honestly, I think this is the most confusing thing about DVC. We are here to help you. If you want to learn more about Disney Vacation Club, we think you'll want to check out these videos right here. Thanks for joining us today. Bye, everybody.